The National Desk, America's News, now.
Prosecutors and judges to go after your opponent, to try and damage your opponent so you can win an election. Our country is much bigger than that.
The Supreme Court keeps Donald Trump on the ballot nationwide, but will the decision unite or tear the country apart?
Far too many Palestinian civilians, innocent civilians have been killed. We need to get more aid in. We need to get the hostages out.
Days before an ultimatum runs out, just how close or far away is a deal for peace? Then filter frenzy. The use of beauty filters has become an online craze and a must for young women. Just ahead, what we know about how it's impacting mental health. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Donald Trump will remain on primary ballots across all 50 states as the Supreme Court rules unanimously that states cannot remove a presidential candidate from a state ballot. The former president quickly came out to respond to this victory.
I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs. And they worked long, they worked hard, and frankly, they worked very quickly.
But questions remain on how unifying this ruling actually will be. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar explains the decision and its impact that goes far beyond the primaries.
A rare unanimous Supreme Court opinion means individual states cannot remove former President Trump from their ballots. In December, Colorado's Supreme Court ruled Section 3 of the 14th Amendment precludes Trump from appearing on their state's ballot because he engaged in an insurrection, January 6th. Maine and Illinois drew the same conclusion, which is now thrown out.
You cannot take somebody out of a race. The voters can take the person out of the race very quickly.
Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold says she's disappointed and Colorado should be able to bar oath-breaking insurrections from our ballot. The justice's explanation was a pretty simple one, writing, because the Constitution makes Congress rather than the states responsible for enforcing Section 3 against federal office holders and candidates, we reverse. Going on to say states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency.
The 14th Amendment was passed after the Civil War, and one thing that our national government was concerned about was individual states, particularly southern states, deciding who would hold elective office and who would not hold elective office.
The justices did not weigh in on whether Trump engaged in insurrection or if the office of the president applies to the 14th Amendment, two hotly contested issues in the lower courts.
The fact that there was no precedent for states doing this, should that have been a red flag from the beginning?
Yes, I mean, this case was always a legal long shot. The justices were concerned about different states having different rules for who could be on the ballot for the most important election in our country.
An election polarizing Americans between two unpopular candidates. In her own concurring opinion, Justice Amy Coney Barrett writes, writings on the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. And all 9 justices agree on the outcome of this case. That is the message Americans should take home. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National Desk, America's News Now.
Bracing for another winter blast. A new snowstorm is expected to hit the West Coast tonight into tomorrow after a powerful blizzard dumped 7 feet of snow on parts of the Sierra Nevada this weekend with wind gusts of up to 180 miles per hour. Winter storm warnings now in effect for 12 to 24 inches of additional snow through Wednesday morning for the northern Sierra, along with other parts of Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. For California, communities are still trying to dig their way out from what happened over the weekend, and you can see how it looked on Interstate 80, which is a busy highway in California. It was shut down for 4 days due to that storm. And this afternoon, that highway reopened with some limitations. Also tonight, we're tracking severe thunderstorms across several major U.S. metro areas. We're talking about isolated tornadoes, hail, and intense downpours from Houston and New Orleans all the way up to Chicago. Pretty massive, extensive impact. One California deputy sheriff is in critical but stable stable condition, while 3 others are injured following a shootout and car chase in Sonoma County this morning. The suspect was pronounced dead after the chase ended with a crash, and it is unknown at this point if they died from the crash itself or from gunshot wounds. The incident followed a dangerous weekend with mass shootings elsewhere in California, also in Mississippi. Yesterday, masked gunmen killed 4 and injured 3 at an outdoor house party in King City, west of Fresno. Police say they are still looking for 3 suspected individuals in that case. While in West Point, Mississippi, 1 woman was killed and 12 more were injured as a gunman opened fire at a nightclub last night. Hundreds were inside when the shooting happened. No arrests have been made in that case. Mass shootings continue to outpace the number of days so far in the year. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been at least 68 mass shootings in 64 days. A mass shooting is defined as at least 4 people shot in one incident, not including the shooter. New York Governor Kathy Hochul unveiled a new $25 million program to create a specialized retail theft unit. Retail theft has been a big problem across the country, and in some places, like in Las Vegas, police believe it's the law itself that is encouraging thieves to break into stores. The National Desk's Kristen Drummond has more.
So this is happening right now.
Alarms blare inside a downtown Summerlin Apple store. A retail theft caught on camera by a customer last month. The thieves snatching the electronics on the table.
Are you seeing smash and grabs happening here?
Thankfully, that trend hasn't made it here yet.
Lieutenant Travis Cunningham with Metro Police.
So the event at the Apple store that you're referring to, we do have someone in custody on that event, but that's relatively uncommon here.
He oversees the organized retail theft unit, a section Metro reactivated in June after noticing more people robbing stores in southern Nevada, primarily doing sweep thefts.
Imagine taking a large basket or a trash bag, reaching onto the shelf and sweeping everything into it.
The lieutenant works with Sergeant Patrick Flynn to solve these crimes.
Is retail theft on the rise here in southern Nevada?
Dollar for dollar, I would say, yes, there is an increase in retail theft.
Some businesses taking a proactive approach now to deter shoplifting by putting items in cases.
And that's one thing that California implemented within the last several years, which is why many boosters are actually migrating here now to commit those crimes.
Law enforcement defines a person who steals items as a booster. Those who knowingly buy the stolen goods to sell and make a profit are known as fences. Why some want to target stores here may vary.
I'm just so proud to be the sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
But Metro Sheriff Kevin McMahill addressed the issue during the State of the Department last week, reminding everyone the state's felony threshold for shoplifting is $1,200.
That's higher than California.
So I do think that having a high threshold does encourage, to some extent, people to steal.
The Nevada legislature increasing the amount in 2019 from $650. Police say thieves aim to shoplift below the $1,200 amount to avoid felony charges, but the unit notices the criminals target multiple stores, allowing officers to add up the amount of goods taken.
If they're stealing thousands of dollars worth of items, even if it's not during one incident, that aggregate amount, if it's over a certain threshold, we are absolutely charging them with felony crimes, and they are going to jail for it.
Trying to get as many thieves off the streets and continue adding to the $5.4 million already recovered in stolen items.
Well, the Texas law allowing state law enforcement to arrest illegal migrants could go into effect by next week. A federal appeals court overruled a lower court's decision blocking the law from taking effect. The law does remain on hold for now as the Biden administration appeals to the Supreme Court. The high court did strike down a similar state law from Arizona back in 2012, but if they don't intervene, the law goes into effect on Sunday. And Pentagon leak suspect Jack Teixeira has accepted a 16-year prison sentence for leaking highly classified Pentagon documents. This after Teixeira, a former Air National Guardsman, appeared in court today and pleaded guilty to using his top secret security clearance to access classified government documents and then upload summaries of them on Discord, an online chat platform. Teixeira had initially pleaded not guilty, but changed his plea. If convicted at trial, he would have faced 30 years to life behind bars. A guilty plea meant he'd serve substantially less time. And former chief financial officer for the Trump Organization, Alan Weisselberg, he pleaded guilty to perjury charges in New York today. Prosecutors accused the former CFO of lying under oath during a May deposition and at Trump's civil fraud trial in October. Weisselberg's plea comes weeks before Trump is scheduled to go on trial for separate allegations of falsifying business records. Coming up, a key member of Israel's war cabinet is in D.C. as a March 10th deadline for the next phase of the war approaches, where things stand for a possible ceasefire agreement. Social media beauty filters, harmless fun, or a trauma-inducing danger impacting teens and adults alike. Spotlight on America investigates. Then later, why the blizzard in the Sierra Mountains could be impacting your life, no matter where you live. The top political rival of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington, D.C. right now, meeting with U.S. leaders to discuss the war in Gaza. Benny Gantz, a key member of Israel's war cabinet, met with Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Tony Blinken. A top item of conversation, how to increase the amount of aid flowing into the enclave now on the brink of famine.
It is at the top of the agenda. It will be at the top of the agenda when Secretary Blinken meets with Minister Gantz tomorrow. It's something that the Secretary raised in a phone call with Ron Dermer, the Israeli Minister for Strategic Affairs, earlier today, to press that more must be done to get aid into Gaza.
It comes as we learn 15 children have died in northern Gaza in recent days due to malnutrition. Delivering desperately needed aid to now starving Palestinians is dramatically falling short in the enclave. Hamas and Arab countries say Israel is systematically and purposely blocking aid, using it as a weapon of war. Israel, for its part, blames Hamas, saying the militant group is siphoning aid intended for civilians. This as ceasefire talks continued today in Cairo. A Hamas delegation is there. Israel did not send a delegation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he wants details on which hostages are still alive before moving forward. Right now, a 6-week temporary ceasefire is on the table. Hamas has not yet agreed to the terms. OPEC nations have extended their voluntary cuts to oil production for at least another 4 months. The group has been reducing their crude oil output since last November in an attempt to keep a surplus off the market and to prop up worldwide prices. Even so, West Texas oil and Brent crude both trading down today, keeping prices relatively unchanged. But here in the U.S., gas prices, they are still rising. According to AAA, the average cost of a gallon of gas is $3.35. That's 9 cents higher than where we were just a week ago and 20 cents higher than last month's average. A year ago, gas was going for an average of $3.40 per gallon. Home prices nationwide continue to rise even as mortgage rates are coming down. The National Desk's Lee Stoll has the latest numbers out of Redfin that might convince you to get what you can while you wait for a break in prices.
It's called Summer.
Using a beauty filter to enhance what you look like.
It just makes my face look super bright. My hair's really blonde in it.
Has become part of the social media routine for young women like 24-year-old Jennifer Clifford.
I feel very pretty when I use this filter.
You're so beautiful.
Thank you.
Already.
Nice. Thank you.
Why do you feel the need to even use a filter?
I think for me, you are always pressured, I guess you could say, to look your best, especially on social media.
Filters started out as silly fun, like Snapchat's original puppy dog lens. Now they've evolved with the help of artificial intelligence into beauty filters on platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok.
Full lips, chiseled face, super pretty eyes, really nice eyebrows.
That can automatically, in real time, manipulate your image or video, significantly changing your features.
Bold glamour filter.
This is me using TikTok's Bold Glamour filter.
And no filter.
Which has more than 200 million videos posted using it.
It's giving you this false idea of what you really look like.
This 2021 City University of London study found 90% of young women surveyed reported using filters, with 94% saying they felt pressure to look a certain way on social media. And this survey by Parents Together found nearly half of teens use beauty filters at least once a week, and 1 in 5 on every single post.
Do you think these filters negatively impact the mental health of young people?
Absolutely. I mean, 61% of teens who took our survey said that using beauty filters made them feel worse about how they look in real life.
Shelby Knox is the online safety campaign director for Parents Together and says some teens even report feeling ashamed of posting unfiltered pictures.
And it's devastating.
This is the pre-op photo that we took.
Research also shows people who use filters regularly are more likely to consider having cosmetic surgery, but even plastic surgeons have concerns.
Filters, from my perspective, can be dangerous in that they can create an unrealistic expectation of beauty.
Tampa plastic surgeon Dr. Harry Bartle says many patients bring in filtered photos as examples of what they want, leading him to gently reset expectations.
Just do different poses.
Feeling the pressure to be perfect all the time is leading to some backlash online, with more young women like Jennifer realizing the potential harm and making a conscious effort to use filters less often.
It's not helping us in any way.
We did reach out to TikTok, Meta, and Snapchat for comment, but they did not respond. For Spotlight on America, I'm Angie Moreski.
Angie, thank you. And groups like Parents Together are calling on social media platforms to do a better job of restricting the use of some extreme filters for their youngest of users, and to clearly identify whenever an image has been altered by a filter. Well, JetBlue's Spirit merger is officially off the table. JetBlue says it mutually ended its $3.8 billion bid to buy Spirit. It comes after a judge sided with the DOJ to block the deal. The DOJ argued that a merger would reduce competition and raise prices for travelers. Market analysts believe that Spirit Airlines could be headed for liquidation. Their stock price today fell to a near all-time low, closing at $5.76. Trader Joe's has recalled more than 61,000 pounds of its chicken soup dumplings because of possible plastic contamination. The manufacturer says it received complaints that hard plastic from a permanent marker was found inside the food. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is urging people to throw away or return the item immediately. Thankfully, there have been no reports of injuries or illness. Apple is facing nearly a $2 billion fine levied against it by the EU in an antitrust ruling. The European Commission says the tech giant banned other app developers from fully informing iOS users of cheaper music subscriptions outside the Apple Music app. The EU claims for almost a decade, users have paid significantly higher prices for these subscriptions. Apple says it will appeal the ruling. Coming up, a home explosion caught on camera. The community reacts to what they believe might not have been an accident. Stay with us for that story. We have reporters all across the nation in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. From a deadly home explosion caught on camera in Nebraska to Washington State, where a business owner says the city is preventing her from protecting her own business. We are taking the pulse of America, but we start in Nevada, where dangerous winter weather is threatening America's supply chain.
Just off I-80, truckers get ready for the long haul.
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot at it and just take it easy.
You know, you get there when you get there. There's no rush, really.
Yeah.
Safety is the #1 priority.
A touch-and-go day in the mountains for the thousands of 18-wheelers that drive over Donner Summit every day.
There are some companies that are rolling the dice that have sent their trucks over the hill to go into the ports and kind of keeping their fingers crossed.
Paul Enos is the CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association. He says most companies are adjusting.
We have some folks who have reduced their operations fairly tremendously, and then some folks have stopped all their westbound operations entirely.
Grocery stores tend to stock up before storms and usually have a 3-day supply of food.
It could be just 1 to 2 hours before those production lines shut down or slow down because they don't have all the requisite parts.
Just slow down. It's not worth it.
It was like any other Saturday morning until it wasn't.
There was a huge explosion like fireworks. It
was a big bang.
The aftermath, 2 homes destroyed, including dozens more having minor damages, and a community shaken.
All of a sudden we heard a blast. It felt like something we thought it was the house next to us, didn't know what it was. I looked out the window after it pretty much lifted me up. The blast was that great. And we looked at each other and thought we were gone.
Local homes and businesses blocks away had their windows blown out, and neighbors near the blast outside in the cold.
For Christine Bryant-Darling, marketing director of #Cannabis, it's hard to accept that they can't take the necessary steps to protect their business.
After discussion, they denied our request.
The city of Redmond said due to code, you can't put bollards on the sidewalk. this store's business owner believes those barriers would have stopped this. A crash and grab from this week where Redmond police say several kids rammed a stolen car through the front of the shop, then went inside, clearing merchandise, leaving, and then coming back before making a getaway. What's worse, in September, the business got hit the same way. Besides mentioning the code, the city didn't elaborate on why bollards wouldn't be allowed.
Barriers are the only solution I can imagine.
For now, hashtag cannabis remains in talks with the city, but there's no mention yet if the decision would be changed. In the meantime, they just have to hope they don't get hit again.
Another crewed mission into outer space. Just ahead, a look at the successful launch after 2 scrubbed liftoff attempts and what we know about this mission. While you're sleeping tonight, 3 NASA astronauts and a Russian cosmonaut expected to dock at the International Space Station in a mission that finally lifted off last night after 2 scrubbed attempts. NASA's SpaceX Crew 8 taking off from Kennedy Space Station just before midnight last night, and even then a delay when minutes before takeoff there was some concern about a small crack in the seal when the capsule's side hatch was closed, but SpaceX engineers determined it would not be a safety issue. So off it went. The mission going off without a hitch. The 4 crew members on board will be on board the ISS for 6 months, where they will conduct more than 250 experiments and scientific demonstrations. And we can't wait to see what they learn. That does it for this edition of the National Desk. We do invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. Just check your local listings. I'm Amira David. Have yourself a wonderful Monday.